Can also do it at training and compare it to other recent games that they have taken part in. The the performer that I have been analysing would come under the participation level of performance. The reason that they would come under this level of performance is because they play football competitively, but equally it was only the college football team. So this means that it isn't of that good enough standard, so it just goes into the performance level. So now on to the analysis. To analyse the player, I used a number of different techniques to gain my results, and then based on the results that I've gained from the different techniques, I've gathered some strengths and weaknesses to the player's game, and also to their performance profile. Although the results that I have gathered during some of the tests and the game that I analysed, this person couldn't give a fully accurate showing of how good the person is, because the game was indoors and also some of the characteristics that had to be analysed couldn't be done in the sports hall. One of the techniques that I use to find out about the person before they perform and after they have just performed is a psychological questionnaire. The reason that I've used one of these is to find out if this has a part to play in the performance that they give. As psychologically, it can have a massive part to play in how they perform. Some people can only perform when they are under an amount of pressure, whereas other people can't perform when they are under pressure. From the questionnaire, I can see that Luke is a very confident player in his abilities, and he isn't phased easily. From these answers, I can also see that he doesn't feel anxious and he doesn't fear that he's going to make a mistake. This shows in his performances, as he is always trying to move the ball forward and that he isn't scared of doing so. He's a very attacking minded player, and this shows when he is performing. And to be successful when attacking, I believe you have to be confident in yourself. From the actual questionnaires, I can see that Luke also prefers playing in a team rather than competing individually. Another way that I analyse Luke's performance is through the notational analysis. I watched Luke play football in the sports hall, and from the performance profile that he made himself, I analysed certain characteristics. So, for example, shooting, and that is the passing is shown on the grid on the PowerPoint. From the notational analysis, I can also see the differences between the first half and also the second half, and this can show whether Luke was fading out of the game or if he come into it more when the defenders were tiring. Although that I couldn't capture all of the analysis for all of the characteristics, and the data that I didn't get may not show what Luke is like in a real game situation, and this is why this analysis isn't 100% accurate. But I've also based some of it on because I played with Luke before, so I know what he's like in a real game situation. From the results that I have gained, I can see that Luke was very involved in the game and was also in some influential positions in the game. Sometimes during the game, Luke didn't capitalise on these great positions. I used tally charts to analyse dribbling and also interceptions. The reasoning behind using tally charts, and I didn't use a notational analysis grid for these two, is because it is easier to use the tally charts. Because you can just simply add a tally every time that they do something right or wrong. And the reason that this is easier and a lot better for the type of analysis that I was doing is because I could do this without taking my eyes off the game, meaning that I wouldn't miss anything that's happening during the game. Although the negative part about the use of tally charts is that it can only show you successful and unsuccessful. So a striker could have a 0% shooting accuracy during a game, but all of the shots could have been from the halfway line, so it doesn't show an accurate. From the fitness test that Luke took part in, I've got different results and from the different tests. The test that he took part in was the bleep test, the grip strength test, 1 rep max, the balance test, and the Illinois agility test. The results that we got from the bleep test was that Luke got to level 6, and this shows that his cardiovascular endurance isn't the greatest and may not be as good as he might have said so. The grip strength test, Luke got the results of 50. This shows that he's an average grip strength. Luke's 1 rep max was 93 kg. This was good for Luke and may show that his power is good. The balance test came up with the results of 11 seconds. This result isn't great at all, and this is under the normative data. And the last test was the Illinois test, and the results were 18 seconds. This is also under the average time, so Luke needs to improve upon this to improve on his whole game. From the analysis that I've done, I have come up with strengths and weaknesses of Luke's game, and this is all from the performance profile that he gave to me. So firstly, I have the strengths, and the strengths were short passing, long passing, interceptions, heading, confidence, crossing, volleying, tackling, power, strength, and anticipation. The reason that I believe short passing is a strength is because that out of the 30 passes that Luke tried to make during the game, 18 of those were successful, which means that around 70% of them were successful, which is very good for a striker, although it could be better if he was to work on it, and sometimes he could keep it safe instead of always going forward. And also interceptions. 7 out of the 11 interceptions that Luke tried were successful, which meant that the majority of the time Luke would maybe intercept a pass from the defenders, and this will mean that he's in an advanced position and one that he may be able to capitalise from. Tackling was too hard to tell the difference from interceptions from the little games that we played in the sports hall, so I couldn't quite get on it, but out of the 3 tackles that Luke attempted, he got 2 of those correct. And for a striker, that is very good, as they are known for not being able to tackle very well. Power was 93 kg on the 1 rep max, which wasn't too bad. This means that Luke's power is good, and this can put him in good stead during a game as a striker, as they need a lot of power to shoot and also to break through the defence. His strength on the grip strength test was 50, which is average, just like what he said on his performance profile. This will also help because they need the strength to hold off the defenders, and also to help the team out with holding the ball up the higher end of the pitch, and that can bring other players into play. Although I haven't gone through every strength, the reasoning behind this is because I couldn't analyse some of them in the sports hall, but from playing with Luke, I know that they are strengths. The weaknesses of Luke's game are talking, leadership, shooting, first touch, dribbling, cardiovascular endurance, agility, balance, and tracking back. The reason that shooting is a weakness for Luke is because only 5 of the 12 shots that Luke had during the game were successful. That means that his shooting hasn't even got a success rate of 50%, and that for a striker is not good enough at all. They should be looking to get at least 70 to 75% shot accuracy, in my opinion, if they want to be successful. Cardiovascular endurance. He only got to level 6 on the bleep test. He should be getting to at least level 8, I believe, as a striker, because they should be doing all the running and tracking back and closing down defenders. So cardiovascular endurance is a big part of their game. Agility, he got 18 seconds on the Illinois test, and I think he should be getting closer to 15 seconds, as when attacking, they need agility to get past defenders. On the balance, he only got 11 seconds on the stalk test, and I think he should be getting at least 20 seconds. As just like agility, balance is quite key for a striker to get past defenders. The other weaknesses I couldn't test also because of only playing in the sports hall. But as I said about the strengths, the weaknesses, I can tell that they are weaknesses because I've played with Luke before. So if he improves upon these, some of these are key. All of these strengths and weaknesses this shows on average that Luke has more strengths than what he needs to work on. So this shows that he's a good player overall, although he does need some work on some of the most important characteristics to go on to the next level. He's going to have to work hard on these characteristics such as shooting and the first touch. They are very key during a striker's game, especially shooting. He needs to improve on to be successful in the future. So on the left in red is the performance profile that Luke gave me, and on the right in a grey blue colour is my version of Luke's performance profile. So as you can see, Luke rated himself an 8 for shooting, but I have only given him a 5, and the reasoning is because he only got 5 of the 12 shots successful. And Luke's short passing, I've given him up. I've gone 7, and he only went 6 before. And the reasoning behind this is because Luke's short passing was excellent during the game. He kept hold of the ball more than he gave it away, and I believe he should be better. He should have put himself up on that. Luke's crossing is a 4, just like he said. We couldn't test that in the sports hall, but from prior knowledge, I know that Luke is, like he said, at crossing. Heading, Luke give himself a 7, and I agree with Luke. He's 7. His heading is a 7. Luke give his first touch a 6, and from the sports hall and knowing what Luke is like, I only give Luke's first touch a 5 because the ball escaped him too many times. Luke's volleying, I also give a 3 because I couldn't test it, but I know from prior knowledge. Long passing is just like volleying, I know from prior knowledge. And interceptions, Luke was very good at interceptions, on the level that he said he was. Tackling, Luke was just on the level like he said he was. Not too great, he could improve upon that. Dribbling, I went down on 1 for Luke because too many times when he was dribbling, he gave the ball away during play, and that isn't good as a striker, always giving the ball away. Cardiovascular endurance, I went down on 1 because he only got to level 6 on the bleep test, and I believe he should be getting greater to last the full 90 minutes, giving 100% the whole game. Power, I agreed with Luke there and give him a 4. I thought that he got that correct. And also with strength, I believe that Luke also got himself correct on that one. But balance, I think Luke needs to improve upon that as well. He was knocked off balance too many times during the match and during matches. I believe he needs to work on his balance. His confidence is very high, I can agree on that. He doesn't believe he's ever going to make a mistake. Agility, I think he needs to work on that. It wasn't as good as what he said it was, and just like his tracking back in games, he doesn't track back enough. So I think he needs to work on that. His anticipation and his leadership, I believe they were, his anticipation and talking, I believe, were just like he said he was, but his leadership, I don't think he was as much of a leader on the pitch as he believed he was.